Leonardo da Vinci once said that time waits just long enough for those who use it. So the question is, what are you doing with your time? We all have 24 hours in a day. What are you doing with your time? Are you building your dream? Or are you helping someone else build theirs? Are you putting in the work every single day, every single moment of now? Are you planning for your future? They say planning is bringing the future into the present so you can do something about it now. So the question is this: what are you doing with your time? Remember, the time is always now.
And thank you for joining the Time is Always Now podcast. My name is Terence Young. I am your host for the podcast today. I appreciate you being with us. This is a podcast that's dedicated to helping people get past their excuses, helping people get past saying, I'm going to do it someday or one day, and instead doing it right now because it's the only time we have. If you don't know who I am, my name is Terence Young. I go by TY. I'm a mindset coach, a new thought transformational speaker, an author, a workshop facilitator. I help people get past their paradigms that stop them from moving forward in their lives because they're waiting on someday or one day. And I help them realize and harness the power in the eternal moment of now, where they can change their lives for the better right now. So thank you for joining me. If you would like to donate to the podcast, by all means, you can do so by going to my website. It's TerenceYoungNow.com. So thank you in advance for allowing me to continue to do what I do, which is share these messages of encouragement, of inspiration, and helping lead people and raise the consciousness of humanity. God knows we need that in our world. Specifically, we need that in our country, in the United States right now. We need that to come together in unity. And if we all raise the consciousness together, I believe we can do that. I know we can do that. So thank you for joining me. If you haven't joined my group yet, the Time is Always Now Facebook group, hop on over and join that. It's a group of like-minded individuals that all want to change their minds and change their lives by harnessing that power in the eternal moment of now and not waiting on the circumstances to be perfect, but moving forward right here and right now to change their lives for the better. Jump over there and join us in the Time is Always Now Facebook group. Speaking of that, every single week in the Facebook group, we have a topic. And this week's topic is patience. How we can be patient with others, and even more importantly, patient with ourselves. And that's what today's podcast is about. I do a Wednesday video every week in the Time is Always Now Facebook group as well. So if you haven't seen that, sign up for the group. Join the group, you'll be able to see that as well. That's every single Wednesday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This podcast is going to be on the theme of the week, which is patience. So I'm going to share some ideas on how we can be patient with ourselves and why it's so important. The first quote that I'm going to use is this: is have patience. All things are difficult before they become easy. All things are difficult before they become easy. It's an interesting concept. I don't think people really think about that. I happen to be a runner, and this example is great for that because running's difficult until it becomes easy. It doesn't matter. Like when I started running, I used to run 1 mile, then maybe 2 or 3. I got up to 5Ks, and I built myself up to being able to run marathons. It's my favorite race. Marathons to me, quote unquote, are easy, meaning I'm not terrified of the distance. It's easy. I just train for it and I run it. But it wasn't always that way. It was difficult the first time. I remember the first time. It was the New York City Marathon back in 2003. That was an extremely difficult race for me to do. But I've learned through that. I was patient. I've been patient with myself and my body and my mind, because all of those things work together to be able to run the distance. I understand that things are always difficult before they become easy. Now when I prepare for a marathon, it's not difficult. Don't get me wrong. The distance is always hard, but it's easy. The mindset is already there. I know I'm going to finish. I know what's going to happen. And you apply that same concept to everything in your life. Be patient with yourself. Think of the first time you rode a bike. It was difficult before it became easy. Think of the first time you drove a car. It was difficult before it became easy. My daughter, I talk about my daughter right now. She's still kind of shy on the driving thing. She drives, has her own car, but she doesn't like driving on the interstate. And it's difficult for her at this point, but she'll get to the point where she's fine with it. All things are difficult before they become easy. So what we must do is be patient with ourselves. Allow ourselves to quote unquote fail so we can become better. And remember, you don't really fail, right? If you learn from what's happening in your life, then you don't fail. No, you are just learning. It's a learning experience and you're growing. It's a change in perspective. You change that perspective, you change your life. It's so, so cool. I love this. I love this. So I want to share with you to be patient with yourself when you're learning something new. Everyone was a novice at some point. Everyone was. Doesn't matter who they are. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Jeff Bezos, who it didn't matter. They all were new at something, and then they got better, and it became easier. That's what happens. So be patient with yourself when you're learning something new. Don't give up so easy. Be disciplined when you move forward, but be patient and know that all things are difficult at first, and then they eventually become easier. And that's powerful. Number 2, I'm going to share with you today. Learning patience can be a difficult thing, but when you do, life becomes easier. Ooh, that's a true one. Learning patience is difficult, but when you do, life becomes easier. I shared this idea or story with my group, and I was 17 years old, freshman in college. Went 1 year, played on the basketball team on a basketball scholarship, and then I dropped out of school. Told my coach I wanted to go make some real money. It's just too slow, going to school playing basketball, but I can't really work because I'm always in school and practice. I just dropped out of school and made some real money. I went and got me a studio apartment, furniture, all that stuff. Had some credit cards. Working full time at Burger King or somewhere like that. I can't even remember where I was working at the time. And I realized that even though I was on my own, I was like 18 or something at the time, it was difficult. Life was really, really difficult. Working full time, making minimum wage, working fast food, and trying to pay my little rent. My little rent was $310 a month. You can't find that nowadays, but $310 for a studio apartment. And I remember it being very difficult. And my dad, he came over to the apartment one day, and for some reason he was there. He told me, he said, "You gotta slow down." He said, "You just gotta slow down." He said, "You're trying to do everything too fast. Slow down." And I didn't get it at the time, but I know what he meant now. Like, with his wisdom, with his experience, what he was saying was, stop trying to do everything so fast. You're still a kid. Let it grow. Let things happen slowly. Don't rush into everything. Right? I think it's Les Brown said, if you do what is easy, life will be hard. But if you do what's hard, life will be easy. So I decided to go back into school, got my AA degree, played basketball, got a scholarship to Mercer, went up there as well, continued my education. And as I got older and wiser, I realized, life becomes a little easier when you don't rush things. When you don't rush things to happen and you allow things to happen, it changes. It changes things when you allow life to happen. I'm not saying don't go after your goals. I'm not saying don't make plans. You certainly do. But allow life to happen and don't rush into it. That's the important thing. Be patient and allow life to happen. And when you do, Life becomes easier when you're patient with life. Everything's not always going to work out exactly the way you want it to. Ooh, and that's important. But it's always working in your favor. That's the key. So learning to be patient can be difficult, but when you master it, when you have it down, life becomes easier. Very, very true. Third one is this. A man who masters patience is a man who masters everything. I love that. I love that. I watch a lot of shows, crime shows. I don't know if you guys like those. I love those shows. I'm watching one a lot now lately that's called The First 48. And the premise of the show is when they're in the homicide division, in the first 48 hours after a homicide, that's the best time to gather the most information on this case. That's when you're going to get the most information. The longer it draws out, the less likely you are to catch who committed this homicide. And I love watching this show because the cops exhibit an extraordinary amount of patience when asking subjects about what happened. I watch them. It's a great TV show. They bring a suspect in. They've already done their due diligence. The cops already seen the videotape, right? There's always a tape somewhere. They've seen the video. They know what car was in. They may have a gun or whatever the case may be. They may have their fingerprints. But they don't come right out and say that to the suspect. Why? Because they want the suspect to be on videotape in the interview room admitting to the crime. So they have to be patient and just let them say it on their own. They always say, tell your story. Go ahead, tell your story. Tell us what happened. Right? They don't come out and say, we know you did it. We know you did it. Because what would happen? The person then may say, well, you already know. I just want to get a lawyer. Then they have to deal with the lawyer and they don't get anything. So they're patient. Sit back and relax and allow them to tell their story. It's powerful. And inevitably, every time, or most times in these shows, the person will break down after the cops say, okay, they lied the first time, then the cop says, well, we know, we have your fingerprints, we have the gun, we have the videotape that shows you doing it, and they're like, oh, okay, let me go ahead and tell you what happened. But the cops are so good at being patient, sitting back and watching and letting and allowing things to happen. It's like the quote that says, how you do anything is how you do everything. Think about this in your life. Are you being patient with life? Share something with you. How do you do this? One of the most important things, observe before speaking. This is what the cops do. They go sit back and observe. Watch the body movement, all those things, and you let people speak. When you're in these situations, do more observing and less speaking. I always say what God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. To listen twice as much as we speak. Observe everyone's point of view before speaking. And gather as much information as you can. Master that patience in doing that. Powerful. Powerful. Another way, practice meditation. I love meditation. I do a Friday morning meditation every Friday morning. So if you haven't caught that, go to Friday morning meditation. You can see it on my Facebook page. About 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes every Friday morning, just a guided meditation. What is it about? It's about calming the mind, listening to your breath to calm the mind. Because that's what it's about. When you can calm the mind, you can be patient. And that's what we all need. That's what the entire world needs right now. Specifically in our country, that's what we need right now. We need more people to be patient and not prejudge every situation. Oh, we need this right now. So 3 things about patience and how you can tangibly use this in your life. The first one is all things are difficult before they become easy. Think about that. Be patient with yourself when learning something new. All things are difficult before they become easy. Right? It used to be difficult for me to play guitar. Now it's easy. All things are difficult. So be patient with yourself before they become easy. Be patient with yourself. Number 2, learning to be patient is hard. But when you learn it, life becomes easier. Recognize how easy life can be if you flow with the vibration of life and allow it to happen. Life becomes so much easier when you're patient, when you're not trying to fight every single battle on social media or in person or wherever or at your job. Be patient. Be patient. Third one is this: a man or a woman who masters patience masters everything. How you do anything is how you do everything. So if you can master patience in anything, you can master patience in everything, and that will bring a peace, bring a joy, bring a thoughtfulness and a calmness to your life. Imagine if we all practiced more patience. Powerful. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Time Is Always Now podcast. You can find the podcast on SoundCloud or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Just search for the Time Is Always Now podcast. You'll always find it there. Remember, I am available for one-on-one coaching. So if you're interested in some one-on-one coaching on how to find your passion and start living it right now, that is my specialty. That's what I do. Get in contact with me. Send me a DM. I would love to speak with you about that and help you reach the highest level of where you want to be. Help you harness the power in the eternal moment of now. That's what it's all about. So thank you again for joining me for this episode of the Time Is Always Now podcast. Remember, if you exercise that level of patience that we talked about here, and you do the things that we talked about, you will be able to unequivocally say, I own the now, and I have won. This is TY. I'm signing off. Remember, the time is always now.